Hello, welcome back to Great Mondays Summer School. I am so happy that you're here. You've taken a break from your sun tanning, and today we're gonna talk about the fourth component of culture, recognition. Recognition. So recognition is how um, you reward or you identify the people that are acting in the way that's going to support your culture with values driven behaviors. Today I have with me, as always, Rachel Davis. Say hi, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel. Oh, wait,
All
no,
right.
that's not what you meant.
Hey-o.
We got a dog here trying to say hi too.
Yes, that's right, exactly. So in summer school, what we're doing is we're teaching each component of company culture, and we're doing it in celebration of the release of Great Mondays templates on Miro. And so Rachel is our Miro ninja. So why don't we crank up the Miro engine and get started to talk about how you and your team can work, whether you're in person or distributed, on recognition.
All right. Oh, yeah, well, I was going to ask if you could see it. You had to take off your sunglasses to see it, I think.
I did. Yes, I can. I
All
can see
right.
it A-OK. Perfect. Perfect. All
hmm
right. So this is our title slide, and we're going to do this. Recognition is happens right after you identify your behaviors, because, as I said, they are part of how you really support those behaviors. And there are four different ways to do recognition programs. We'll get to that in just a second. Let's do a little tour. Maybe Rachel can do a little tour of the board, what we're going
Yeah.
to get into today.
All right, let's do a little zoom out here. At the top of every of these boards, you're going to kind of see you are here. So we've got 6 in the series, and those are all on the Miroverse. And if you ever forget where you are, I know sometimes I do, you can go up to this first
Often.
frame here. Yes. And especially in the summer, right? When you're supposed to be relaxing. Where am I? Who am I? All right. So we've got you are here with recognition. Then we've got our title slide that we just talked about, which will give you a little bit about when to do that activity, some tips for the activity. So for each of these activities, you can either work with your team, or if you don't have a team and it's just you can do these activities individually. That's the power of Miro. You can collaborate with a team. You can do it on your own. It's very powerful in that way. All right. And then we've got our activities here. And there's 2 frames with activities. And I think we're going to walk through some of these, right? We're going to walk through some of the activities. I'll just kind of give a high level overview here. You're going to catalog existing recognition programs, and then you're going to sort them on this lovely, going to go wide, and then we're going to sort them on this lovely quadrant over here. And then you have a little area to have some of your final decisions over here. And then if we go to the next board, this is about evaluating some of those recognition programs. And you've got some checks and X's, and you can have fun moving around icons, and we'll get to that in a second when we go through this activity. All right.
Perfect. Sounds good. All right, let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is talk about the 4 different types of recognition. Now, I'm not going to go too deeply into this because it is listed both on greatmondays.com, a lot of articles about them, as well as the book Great Mondays, which you can get at your local book dealer. So the 4 types of recognition programs, once you scroll over to the 2x2 here, our quadrant, they are divided into two axes. One is formal and informal. So a formal recognition program are those that are supported by the company. The company says we're going to do these. Informal are things that maybe just a manager does, or maybe some peers do. They just show up anyways, even if the company isn't funding it with a budget. The other axis is whether it's from someone who is above you or someone who is a peer of yours, so from a leader or from a peer. So number 1 down here in the left-hand column would be the type of informal recognition from leaders. And informal recognition would be, hey, I'm going to take you out to lunch or coffee. Thanks so much for doing the thing that I asked you to do, or that you did without being asked to do, actually would be even better. Moving up, staying on the leadership side, but now moving to formal, these are the ones, these kind of reward programs that are typical of organizations, the once a year, like the CEO award or the sales leader award. This is a formal recognition from leaders, and these happen infrequently, and they're usually big ceremonies. Number three, formal recognition from peers. So formal recognition from peers would be any number of these software platforms where you can give someone a kudos, or you can give them a badge, or you can even type in on Slack, hey, Rachel, thanks so much for collaborating with me. That's going to be a formal recognition program. And then finally, informal. Informal is just going to be after meetings, or maybe one-on-one. How you're gonna tell somebody, one of your peers, that I really appreciate what you're doing, for just because. And ideally, all of these are connected to your values. So if you haven't done your values work yet, go back to component 2, because you got to be thinking about what your values are to make these really work. All
And
right.
it's great that you said that, Josh, because we actually have a place for you to put your values here on the activity.
All right.
So if you've done all your summer school homework and you've gotten your values, right? This is your place to put them. Should we drop some values in here?
Yeah, that's right. I think we should. So give and get. Respect was one of mine. Maybe, I don't
Should I put
know.
everything as a prototype on here?
I love it. Yes, Rachel and I were just talking about that. Everything's a prototype. Um, let's see, another one is run together. That's our
That's not
DEI.
like actually running, right? Because
It's not
I
a
would rather eat ice cream.
That's right. Well, we could also, if you want, we can also have eat ice cream as another one to balance that one out. That's fine.
Yes.
And then so the rule here, if you haven't heard it yet, 3 to 5 values. We're gonna just take out that one, because sometimes you just have 4 values. Boom,
Yeah.
done. 4 values: give and get, respect, eat ice cream, everything as a prototype, and run together. Now that we've
I
re
think we should kind of eat ice cream. Life is sweet. There we go.
You can see
All
why I've
right.
invited our special guest here, because she's so good at what she does. All right. So now that we've re-anchored in those values, those are just to remind you what you're working towards and what you're trying to reward. Now, brainstorm, write down all the recognition that actually currently occurs in your company, the ones that currently occur in your company. So I know that there's at Rachel Industries, there's waffle parties.
I put ice cream parties. I think we're thinking
Oh,
along the same. Waffle? How about like waffle Sunday?
waffle Sunday. Yeah, exactly.
Waffle Sunday
Perfect.
parties.
Waffle
We
Sunday.
did put run together. Maybe there's like group 5Ks.
Oh, very good. Yeah, group 5K.
I think we have those, don't we? Right? Yeah.
Route 5K, and you are invited if you have been rewarded with a collaboration, one of your collaborative
I don't know. That kind of
hashtags or
seems like a
something.
punishment to me to run a 5K, not a reward. But you know.
All right, so we have waffle Sundays. We also have the end of the year banquet, maybe, is something that happens.
Maybe
Um,
we have some uh, awards throughout the year. Maybe there's like quarterly awards. I think we have,
mhm,
right?
exactly, something like that. So what you did,
Manager them. Go
yep.
ahead.
So this is all the stuff that you want to do. You want to get it all out there, and then once you do that, you want to sort them into the correct quadrants.
Let me zoom
So that
out here.
Yes, zoom out. So what you'll see is the 4 different kinds. So let's go ahead, and so remember, there was the 4 different kinds: informal from
Mm-hmm.
leaders, formal from peers, and informal from peers. So let's go over here and say the I'm going to go ahead and drag over group 5K. That feels more formal because it's something that Rachel wouldn't have made up by herself. I think that's kind of going to be more of a
I definitely
formal.
wouldn't make that one up by myself.
Yeah, exactly. Manager of the month, I think. So let's see. I'm going to bring them over here.
Oh
Waffle
yeah.
Sun,
Let's bring them
yeah,
over
let's
here.
bring them over here. So manager of the month, that's definitely going to be, well, it could be formal, but if it was from your peers, other managers, that might
Yeah.
be formal peer to peer. Now, Waffle Sunday, that is absolutely an informal recognition from peers. So let's say it just kind of happened, something that, um, yeah, the ice cream parties could also be here. This was something that just I made up, and I said I love waffles, and so I'm going to bring everybody together and celebrate you for doing great work. And that's
Yeah.
just gonna we're gonna share we're gonna do it at different people's offices, or um, maybe
Mhm.
we just always come up on Zoom. Doesn't matter.
And isn't it nice that that aligns with the value? That's part of what we're doing here, right? Ice cream parties, ice cream, life is sweet. There we go.
Perfect, exactly. End of the year banquet,
And
formal from leaders, totally.
mhm.
Totally. And then quarterly awards, yeah, that's probably going to be formal from leaders. That
Yeah,
sounds
it
like a
depends
formal
what
from,
kind, right? It could be the others nominating others for quarterly awards, right? And then that would be a peer to
mhm.
peer.
That would be peer to peer. That
So
could be there. Now, we
yeah.
don't have any informal from leaders. So, you might have a harder time identifying what those might be, but you can say, hey, you know what? My executive that I always connect with, she really, um, every time we finish a quarterly report, she always sends me a gift card for Grubhub. Um, so
Mm.
that can
Now you're
be,
making me
it's
hungry. Waffles, ice cream parties, Grubhub.
Rachel. I
Oh.
feel like, yeah. So this is kind of where I tend to go. Is the food. So in any case, that's what you want to do is you want to put everything on the board. That's the first and foremost thing. Now, to narrow it down, you can evaluate all of them, but to make it more reasonable, what we want you to do is identify one from each quadrant. And that way you can bring it forward. So, what's the one that you want to evaluate with your team? It's either like a high visibility program or something that's you think it's got a lot of potential. So, I think that's good. So, Rachel, why don't you choose one from each quadrant? And then as you're doing that, I'll also describe what I've described here, which is if you have a blank or a quadrant with less than the others, then that is a really good piece of data to consider, which means you have not invested enough in that quadrant. The ideal is to have, and it takes a while, but the ideal is to have recognition across all four quadrants. So you don't have one there, or you have fewer. You're like, well, that's where we should invest. Once we get the other ones sorted, then that's what we should invest. Okay,
All
and
right.
so here's our
So we
four.
only
We're
have
gonna
three. Well, we have three because remember we have a blank quadrant, right?
right. We
Or no,
do.
did
All
you
right.
put one in the card? Oh yeah, Grubhub card.
Grubhub,
Let's bring that
Grubhub
over.
card. Yeah, bring that over.
Uh,
All right, perfect.
Grubhub card. Now we have our four. All
Okay, so
right.
now we're at
So
the end of we're at the end of board one.
hmm now one of the things you can do, since we're going to bring them to the next quadrant, if you use this Mirrorverse template, you could just grab these and copy them. It's if you're on a Mac, it's Command C. If you're on a PC, Control C, just your regular shortcuts for copy paste. If you're like, oh man, I don't want to go over there and remember them, we can just bring them down here. Okay, cool. We're gonna now evaluate these. Put the
Beautiful.
recognition program in each here, so in each
Mm-hmm.
quadrant. So remind me which quadrant these are in. All right, so we've got
uh, let's see. End of the year banquet is top left. Formal from leaders.
it's not
Grubhub.
end of year banquet. There we go. Let's put that
There
there.
you go. Okay. Um. Ooh, look at that.
Grubhub's down here.
Grubhub's down there.
Yeah,
Uh, and then we've got ice cream party bottom right,
yeah.
and manager of the month top right.
All right. There we
Okay.
go.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate each of these. And the reason why we do this is just to be I guess, intellectually rigorous around what is it we're trying to achieve and how well do these deliver on those. So I've got a couple different aspects of these. So um, so the first one up here in the top left, formal from leaders. Is it supported? So if it's a formal program, it should be supported, which means it could mean there's a budget. It could mean that it's something that is acknowledged by leaders. Somehow it's
Mhm.
supported. It's not just, yeah, I guess you could do it. So that I think, boom. The next one is it authentic? So is it authentic to your brand or to your culture? Do you have this kind of like come bring together, celebratory, everybody want to spend money on the food and that feels really
Well,
appropriate? Or
let's say it's not here, right? Because then we know what for. Well, let's get a
that's
little X there.
That's
Yeah.
fine. Yep, yep, yep. Um, the next one I have is it explained, which is there like a place where people can go, or is there a dialogue that leaders have around why we do this? Now, it's not if it's not, it's never possible to do. You obviously this is what you want. So if you come into an organization and you're a new hire and there's this end of the year banquet and you're like, yeah, there's this end of the year banquet and you don't hear anything more about it, then I would say it hasn't been explained. Because what's important in these is to understand how this is connected to your values and how it is driving your culture.
Hmm.
And then finally, is it consistent? Consistent in frequency, consistent in kind of investment, consistent in what is being rewarded, values driven behavior. So let's put a check in there just to balance it out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, that would be yeah, it could be a check, right? It could be that it does happen every year, but that doesn't mean it's authentic or explained.
Exactly. Fantastic.
All
All
right.
right. And then let's go ahead. We don't have to fill out all of them on our
Yeah,
hypothetical recognition, but I do think we should cover a few of the other criteria
sure.
here. So, top right, is it believable? Is it believable? So, what does that mean? It means, do you feel seen when it occurs? Is it something that is authentic? No, because we just said authentic. Is it something that is credible from that peer, or do you feel they're coerced? Right? It doesn't help if it's coerced. Well, that's what we want. We want to make sure that it's like, yeah, when Rachel does it, it definitely means something because that's an important piece of it. The next one is maybe a little obvious, but is it understood? Which is, has someone made it clear what we're trying to do? Again, it's very similar to, is it explained? So you are recognizing your peers, in this case, your managers, and they have, I understand that it's for values driven behaviors. And then finally
Hmm.
is consistent. And then down here, bottom right, we'll go through and say, is it understood? So we talked about that. Is it funded? Interesting question for informal recognition. Maybe it's not, and that's okay. I think that's an interesting question. Does it need funding? No, doesn't need funding. I tell the story in my book about delivering happiness and how they do peer-to-peer recognition with, they started with a bacon pillow, which is the illustration I have on my 2x2 there. The bacon pillow was just something that someone brought in and they handed it on the team. They gave it to somebody else. And now in our digital world, you can just give someone the digital thing. And unless it's an NFT, you could, copy and paste. So it doesn't have to be funded, but it is an interesting question. And, maybe as it becomes funded, it could become formal. It's possible that it elevates into that. And then finally, is it creative? Because if it's not creative, then why do it? It really has this opportunity to be something very cool, and you don't have any formal constraints. So screw it. Let's do something fun. So that is how we go through. That's a little bit about recognition, how you might go through and evaluate your own program and your what is happening inside your organization. Larger organizations, you're going to need more people to be able to understand what is actually happening. So probably, we advise 10 people from different parts of the organization to say, yes, this is what is important and runs well in my part of the world. Another learning, and the last point I'll make about this, is that what you want to look for are what is really compelling are the ones that are authentic and kind of happen because they happen and they emerge from the employees. And so what you could look at is, oh, wow, that's a great idea. She has that in her department. That's what she does. Maybe we should do that. So this bringing together of your culture ambassadors or the recognition ambassadors, it's going to be a great way to share learnings and see about what does it. When we did our work with the DC Public Library, someone said that they did a red tape award. And so the red tape award in government is a lot of red tape. So they celebrated the person who persevered and got something done in spite of. I was like, that's brilliant. I was like, that needs to happen across the organization. So that's really what I think it's all about. Anyway, so that is the end of recognition summer school class for today. Rachel, any finishing points?
I was just going to mention, if you're using this Miroverse template, you can always add Post-its here with any comments, so we know this is voting. So if you're like, oh, we talked about this as a group and some things came out during the discussion, we can always add some of the Post-its here and be like, so which one is this one? Ice cream party. I like them, but I'm lactose intolerant. Right. You can, anything that came out, right? Like, good point too, like being aware of dietary preferences, right? So, that's, you can put little notes there, just get fun with your boards.
Exactly. Fantastic. Well, let's go ahead and say we'll see you later. We'll see you at the next one. So the next episode of Summer School is going to be covering rituals. So stay tuned for that. Or if it has already been released, you can just pop right over and check it out. Aloha.
Right.